Hello, hello, hello. Well, first of all, let me apologize for being late. I'm not someone that likes to be late. I spent too many years in Germany. Probably told you guys the story of like when I was 2 minutes late and didn't get the big meeting that I needed for the hostel partnership. I try to be punctual, and I've just been running a lot late lately. That's just not cool. But like every time I'm late, there's an excuse. This time it was a combination of puppy dogs and city bikes. I'll tell you more about that. Hey, I'm Chris Sandeman, not in Brooklyn Heights right now. I am much closer to Clinton Hill, North Bedford-Stuyvesant, if you will. And we are scheduled to do a tour of Brooklyn Heights today, but between doggy vomit, resistant to pooping, and then the city bike station that I needed to use to hop on an electric bike, for whatever reason, not letting any bikes be withdrawn from it. It got later and later and later, and now you guys are out there waiting. Say hi if you're there. And I didn't want to make you guys wait for me to like get to Brooklyn Heights when I had a scheduled tour at 2 o'clock. Michaela, danke, dass du da bist. And willkommen zu Hause. Willkommen nach Hause? Zu Hause? Ne, du bist zu Hause. Willkommen nach Hause. Huh? Clearly, Michaela, we need to have a little chat time because my German is getting worse. I need your help. Jenny Jean, thank you for the Purple Heart. Michelle Sandeman, you're my mom, so you always kind of have to say hi, don't you? Appreciate it, though. And thanks for being there as well. Thanks, guys. Well, so because I'm about a 35-minute walk away from Brooklyn Heights right now. Hey, Jeanette, what's going on, West Coast, West Coast? Because of, completely avoidable issues. I should have budgeted more time. I should have been over there earlier. I'm just like super late right now. And, but still wanted to be on time-ish. I'm late for being where I need to be right now in order to deliver a Brooklyn Heights tour, which I've been researching my butt off for. Although, I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna have to reschedule because, and it's gonna end up being on Saturday or Sunday, one of those 2 days. Willkommen zu Hause. Thanks, Michaela, appreciate that. It's gonna be either Saturday or Sunday. I'll post it later on today. I had some other tours planned for Saturday and Sunday and the weekend, but Brooklyn Heights is right in the center of things, and we'll talk about it there. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for me to talk too much about Brooklyn Heights, just generally giving you guys the background history. Hey, Jenny Stark, sorry for not calling out the Purple Heart. Thank you. You know I appreciate that Purple Heart so much. What I figured was that there'd been a request for more pizza eating. So I'm walking to this pizza place called Facati, which is in Brooklyn Heights. And you'll notice I have an earpiece in, and that is because my other phone right now is telling me when and where to turn to get where I'm going right now. Because Brooklyn is not my jam, it's not my home. I don't know Brooklyn that well, but I've been discovering it, and it is fascinating and incredible. And Brooklyn Heights was the first commuter neighborhood. It was the first neighborhood anywhere in the US where more people who lived in that neighborhood didn't work than did work in that neighborhood. Does that make sense? The majority of people who lived in Brooklyn Heights by the early 1800s, by like 1814, when you first have a sort of a viable commuter ferry option, which was Robert Fulton's steam engine ship going from Fulton Landing in Brooklyn over to near like Fulton Street or Wall Street in Manhattan. Had cut the transit time from 24 minutes to get across the East River down to 12 minutes, And that meant that suddenly Brooklyn became a viable option for people to come and live, rather than moving up to like Greenwich Village or moving further up Manhattan Island. It was just going to be quicker to be over in Brooklyn. In fact, 24 minutes wasn't so bad anyway. The problem was, before Robert Fulton's steamship, what you had was like sails and sloops, little ships that would take you across the river. Have a bad storm, you get stuck on one side of the river or the other side. I mean, this is just like, oh, there we go. Oh, they missed the light now, didn't they? All that honking, they still missed the light. Could be a storm, could be no wind. The tide could carry you into Governor's Island. Boats with sails were not as reliable because they were dependent upon weather conditions, right? But the steamship allowed people to dependably get on in Brooklyn and head across. Hence why Brooklyn becomes the first, commuter neighborhood, because you could commute from there. And Brooklyn Heights, this raised plateau, which the Lenape people called Ipatonga, high sandy bank. Lenape being the Native Americans that were here before the Dutch arrived, right? The high sandy bank was this whole plateau area that afforded amazing views. And the Lenapes, you could imagine them up there, up in what today is Brooklyn Heights. At one point was Clover Hill. At one point was Brookline, L-E-I-N, like Leiden kind of, or a line, small place, Brookline, small brook. And Lenapes would have been up there watching into, what would be like New York Harbor and the East River. They'd see those ships coming and arriving from that Ipatonga, the high sandy bank. And that made it very desirable later on. And when we do our tour of Brooklyn Heights properly, we're going to be talking about guys like Ezekiah Pierpont. And honestly, a guy who's got not just one beer in his name, but multiple beers. Ezekiah Beers Pierpont, pretty incredible guy, land developer. It was his son, Henry Pierpont, who would develop and build out Greenwood Cemetery, a place that we visited already together, which is pretty cool. Woo, jogger coming by. Oh, I went the wrong way. But yeah. So look, if you don't feel like walking along with me and exploring the journey, hey, bye. Tada ba. I know it's 3 days in a row, shalom, shalom, but it's also today, unfortunately, I am not doing the advertised tour of Brooklyn Heights because I am not yet in Brooklyn Heights. I am actually heading from Clinton Hill, Bedford-Stuyvesant area over towards, thank you, Jeanette, for the breathe advice. I do need to do that. Well, making my way across, now about to approach and reach the neighborhood of Fort Greene. You can tell because we've got Green Avenue we're crossing now and heading into this new neighborhood. We actually talked about Fort Greene when we were up at Fort Greene Park, and Fort Greene neighborhood named after Fort Greene Park. Originally Washington Park becomes Fort Greene Park because of Nathaniel Greene building a Revolutionary wartime fortress there to protect against the imminent invasion of the British in 1776 onto Long Island. Washington had known that Long Island was a weak spot for New York because Long Island's a huge space, impossible to defend with small colonial forces, and Brooklyn Heights, all the way to the west of Long Island, like the westernmost tippy-top point, right, was this Ipatonga, this high, sandy Clover Hill knoll, which meant that if you could get cannons up there, you could fire right across the East River and lob, cannonballs into New York City. which would then mean, of course, New York City was indefensible. And Washington understood this very well because he had done exactly that to the British himself during the Battle of Boston. Because the Brits who were occupying Boston were trying to keep, were trying to hold on to Boston. And the problem was that they managed to get cannons. It was Henry Knox, actually, after the Battle of Ticonderoga, I want to say, managed to get cannons over to Boston, and they got them up on the Dorchester Hills. The hills of there, the Brits had to retreat from Boston because they could be pummeled. The city could be destroyed. And hence, same thing with Brooklyn Heights. You got to defend it, which is why in 1776, what Brooklyn Heights was farmland and fortresses. Defensive forts to protect against the British invasion. So, Bar says, missing New York City. Me too. I guess Brooklyn's part of it, ever since 1898 at least, right? Before then, it was the third largest city in the country, just not part of the incorporated New York structure. Had its own mayor, had its own, it had its own everything in 1898. But then, when the city comes together as one city, the mayor of Brooklyn becomes the borough president, becomes the borough of Brooklyn instead. And yes, Bar, we're going to see some views of Brooklyn as we continue to walk here. It's a gorgeous skyline as we go, and you guys, because I'm not delivering on exactly what I meant to deliver on, please consider asking me questions. And today only, all questions are on the table. So you can go ahead and ask me whatever you want to know, and I'm happy to talk about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on talking and showing you guys this area that we're cruising through. Oh, look, Fulton Street. This is a good sign. This means that we are heading in the right direction. And you know how I know? Because Fulton Street, whether you're in New York or whether you're in New York City or like New York Island, so to say, of course, New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, New York, they're all part of New York City. But when I think New York, I think Manhattan often. And that's because that's how it used to be. I'm a little bit stuck in my history, but also because people here are like, are you going to New York? Or I guess they say go to Manhattan. Jeanette asks, great, thank you, by the way, Jeanette, extra points for being first person to ask a question after my asking for someone to ask a question. You could, but I'm on a live stream right now, I'm working. I appreciate it though, brother. Who's gonna ask me for money? 10 to 1. It's 10 to 1 odds. Jeanette asks, what did you have for breakfast? And I'll tell you, I had a piece of toast. It was a multi-grain piece of toast with a little dab of butter. I had 2 eggs fried over medium with ample amounts of pepper, and I had 2 slices of turkey bacon. As I try to avoid red meat as much as I can right now. Environmental reasons for the most part, but it's not bad for your health either. Then I went to Crunch Gym. Not this Crunch Gym, but I went to a different Crunch Gym and I worked out. Probably did not have time to do that today, to be honest with you. But I had to do it, or else I would have hated myself a little bit more. Jeanette writes, breakfast of champions. Yeah, I end up, it's like a little bit boring. I remember once when I was living in LA, I was talking to this woman and she was like, I have the same thing for breakfast every day, and lunch, in fact. I'm like, you have the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day? She's like, well, I have the same thing for breakfast every day. And then for lunch, I make my lunch on Sunday for the week, and then that's what I eat all week long. And she's like, and at dinner, I mix it up and I try different things. And I was like, but how boring is that, right? She's like, no, it's just fuel. I know how many calories there are in it. I know exactly what the food is made up of, and that's, that's great. Like, I know what I'm getting. It's dependable and reliable. My body likes it. And I was like, oh God, it's so sad to see food as fuel. But now that I'm back in a healthy kind of workout regimen, I completely understand what she was talking about. Like, having to think about what you're going to have for breakfast, that's a lot of time and effort if you're going to do it every day, right? So Hale says, hey, I'm late. Hale, not as late as I am. I'm supposed to be in Brooklyn Heights right now, and I'm in not Brooklyn Heights. I'm in, let's see where we are right now. I am almost to downtown Brooklyn. I'm actually making really good time. I'm hauling. I'm only about 20 minutes away from where I want to go, which is pretty good. I think that's a pile driver. So, we're about west of Fort Greene now, just north of Boerum Hill, and about to hit downtown Brooklyn, which would have been, for the longest time, and still is today, the civic center, the municipal center of what was once the village of Brooklyn. In 1814 is when it got its official village status from the state of New York, by no small help from our friend Hezekiah More Than One Pierpont. And that allowed them to start laying basic sewer system and piping that allowed for a watch, like a village watch, people to watch, not actually for criminals really, but for fires, was what the watch was originally kind of for, to make sure that you didn't have a fire incident. And that, will allow Brooklyn to start to grow and go. And it's actually kind of interesting when you think about it. In 1814, there were only 10 houses in Brooklyn. 10 houses. Not many, prop houses. Sorry, not in Brooklyn Heights. 10 houses in Brooklyn Heights. So that's 1814. By 1860 or 61, beginning of the Civil War, you've got 600 houses already in Brooklyn Heights. So in a very short amount of time, part of the story of Brooklyn is that growth that you see. And it'll continue, right? Because then after the Civil War, when you've got, let's say around, by 1880, population of Brooklyn is around 600,000 people. Within 40 years, that'll go up to just around 2 million people, right? By 1920, with the massive immigration waves that we have coming in. So it was a city that grew in leaps and bounds within the lifetime of many of the people who were experiencing it, seeing it change from a village into, the sidekick of this metropolis across the ocean, across the East River. Quick hellos towards downtown Brooklyn. I had a dog vomit emergency. I had a reluctant pooper on the second dog. And I had to get them done before I headed out. And then the City Bike stand, which, by the way, for all of you guys who visit New York and you want to know a trick about City Bike, if you go to a City Bike stand, like a dock for City Bikes, and there are no regular pedal bikes left, only electrical bikes. The electrical bike is free. I mean, not free. If you don't have a membership, you still have to pay to rent bike, but you don't get charged extra for the electric bike if you don't have a choice. So good to know. Hey, the G's, thank you so much, brother. Always good to see you over on Twitch fans. Yeah, so Nikki, Jim, Hale, G's, Mom, Bar. I'm really sorry that, like I said, we're heading in the right direction. Oh, but there are things that we can see. Still here. Yes. It's the old time savings bank of Brooklyn. Great building. Beautiful. Not on this tour. Not going to be able to talk much about it, but it's great. So neat to see sites like this where you've got oh, sorry about the G's, sister, not a brother. Apologies. Now I know. I love buildings like this in New York, whether you're in Manhattan or Brooklyn, and you can see the layers of history, with skyscrapers being built behind it. I really dig that. Yeah. It's like Greek Revival. I'm gonna say Greek Revival. Okay, so so our journey right now is taking us is going to take us through the municipal center and over to Brooklyn Heights for a slice of local pizza. And then I'm going to do some more exploring after that myself and polish up some aspects of my tour that I want to have nice and sharp for you guys. As well, not that I wouldn't have done it today, I would have, but it'll be sharper, even better on, I think Saturday is when we'll do it in the early part of the day, and then we'll go to the Brooklyn Museum over by Prospect Park later in the day for an event which is happening there. All will be posted at least 24 hours ahead of time, so that you guys, hopefully even sooner than that. So, yeah. Temperature right now, it's actually pretty cool. Looking at a calm and cool, must be like 73, I'm guessing. Let's see, it's saying 76. 76 degrees Fahrenheit. For my centigrade followers, 24 degrees. But a good amount of cloud cover right now, which is allowing for it to not feel that hot. Not that humid. Bar asks, what's Twitch? Well, Bar, Twitch is a website and social media platform which began predominantly and continues to remain predominantly as a gaming site where people can go play video games and then share their screen as a live stream of them playing the video game, and then at the same time comment over their video game playing with a screen of the video game player's head face. So it's sort of like live commentary of the video game that you're watching someone play. Now, Twitch was bought by Amazon in, I want to say 2014 for about what they call a 2x evaluation. So Twitch was doing just under $500 million worth of turnover. I want to say $471 million worth of turnover. You might ask why I know so much about Twitch. I can tell you a little bit later on. So I think they were doing $471 million worth of turnover, and Amazon bought them for like $980 million. But today, Twitch is worth close to $5 billion. Is what the market cap expectation on it is. And it's because there are every day hundreds of thousands of live stream hours with content creators and content consumers on both ends matching up on Twitch to watch all sorts of things. Now Twitch has expanded beyond just video games, and now here's a great, I wish I knew more about these buildings here. But to continue on it, Twitch is now not just for video game players, it's also for two other groups of people. Musicians. You've got a lot of musicians. Look at this. These look like, sorry, I walked right by this. This looks like a cast iron facade over here. You see that cast iron facade nature. There was a big fire in Brooklyn in 1884, 1885, I think, no, 1885, and it took out 7 blocks of old wooden buildings. So having a fireproof building became a real strong advertising. A very compelling, unique selling proposition. So Twitch, what else is it doing today? Twitch also is doing music. You've got live performances from musicians up on Twitch. And then a whole bunch of Twitch, honestly, is like, scantily clad women in like pools or jacuzzis or doing their aerobics workouts, but scantily clad in tight clothing, and then the same sorts of audience largely that you'd expect that were watching the video games being played, also switching over and watching the scantily clad people bouncing up and down on trampolines and things like that. Yeah, and Jeanette writes, it depends on what kind of stream you want to do. Twitch is a little chaotic. Twitch is so big, it's so massive, and they've done such a job of stealing away content creators. Not so much users, but content creators. Wow, this guy just did some crazy driving. That would have been like a Russian dash cam video for a second if things weren't careful. Yeah, but they're such a gigantic organization, and they're owned and backed by Amazon, right? Which, if I'm not mistaken, is the largest company from a market cap perspective of all time ever. So, pretty incredible. A lot of street music here. Will be a good time for me to cue one of Jeanette's music. Oh well, I don't deserve to monetize this video anyway. Not when it's not showing us what we really were hoping and expecting to see. Oh, thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Guy just opened up the door to Panda Express for me. I mean, of all places that I'd want to go, Panda Express, high on the list. So we're now definitely in the municipal center. Oh, Eric. Oh, Maui. Welcome. I appreciate you tuning in virtually. I couldn't imagine wanting to physically leave Maui. Look at those cantilevered terraces. Wow. Pretty cool. So Eric, we're supposed to be in Brooklyn Heights right now, but you tuned in. You missed my initial pitch to say that unfortunately I was running so late, and then I had a dog issue, then I had a bike issue. So I'm walking towards Brooklyn Heights and showing you guys, the walk over there right now. And then we're gonna get a slice of pizza together from a famous local neighborhood, Brooklyn Heights pizzeria called Facati. And now the old Civic Center of Brooklyn, where the municipal buildings would be. We have to turn right towards Montague Street. I know where it wants me to go. Good. Thanks, Eric, for letting me off the hook there. And Mila says hi everyone over on Facebook.
Hi.
Mila, hi back to you as well. What's going on over here, Linda? Oh, very cool. It's Test and Trace Corps. Hey, Lorraine over on YouTube. Thanks for joining. I think these guys are doing. They are doing. I think this is maybe a training for some of these guys. With the Delta variant coming in, again, New York is taken, I think probably pretty good precautions right now to make sure that we're going to be safe. They're increasing testing, which will help a lot. They are starting to require masks for anyone who is indoors and not vaccinated. You're going to have a mask. You're going to have to prove that you are, vaccinated. If you want to go unmasked, it's a requirement. What else is happening? They're getting rid of the governor, probably. Guy was pretty touchy-feely, apparently, and threatened people for, saying he was going to tell anyone about his touchy-feely antics with female staff. So, well and truly time for him to go. I'm all for that. This here is is Borough Hall. So this would have been where this was the old town hall for Brooklyn, but now this is where the borough president would sit. So the borough of Brooklyn and president of that borough. And we're almost to Brooklyn Heights, believe it or not. Because the district which borders Brooklyn Heights directly to the east is this downtown Brooklyn area. So I'm going to swing back up this direction because there's some stuff up here that I can speak a little bit to, so as well. My phone is not happy with me. Okay, great. So this is Camden Plaza up here, and it takes us through to, right across in this direction is Brooklyn Heights, and that's where we're going to be. We're going to be heading down Montague Street in just one second. But over here, we've got the Supreme Court of the state of New York. So not a federal, but a state Supreme Court. Massive building. Not beautiful, but certainly strong in size. Christopher Columbus up there in the front, by the way. Worth mentioning that as Little Italy got more and more expensive, going into the early 1900s, by like 1908 is when we get an elevated train finally making it over to Brooklyn Heights. More and more people who were living and working in New York from a lower income status are able to make the commute back and forth, and you know, a lot of Italian Americans who end up moving from Manhattan to Brooklyn in one of the waves of migrations over. The first wave of migration, Dutch, 1600s, right? Farmers, farmland. Second wave of migration, 1812, Fulton builds, with Pierpont's money, builds the ferry, right? And now there's an easy way to commute back and forth across the river. Next wave of migration is that the Hicks brothers north of Clark Street, and Pierpont, Ezekiah More Than One Beer, Pierpont south of Clark Street start to sell out all their plots, to divide and sell their plots. The next wave of migration continues to come with more and more transportation. As transportation increases, as you get a subway line coming all the way from Greenwich Village. By the 1920s, the area starts to take on a really bohemian aspect to it. Transportation. Of course, the Brooklyn Bridge changes a lot of that as well to make things more accessible. Real fast, if you guys had seen the quick pop-up that we did at one point, you might have, but we did a quick pop-up here of this guy, Henry Ward Beecher, who was arguably he was the most famous man or person in America during much of his lifetime. So much so that they had to put on extra ferries across from Manhattan to bring people to Brooklyn, where he at Plymouth Church, which was often actually called Grand Central, the Grand Central Depot before the terminal, right? Grand Central Depot of the Underground Railroad, because he was an incredibly prominent abolitionist. And you can actually see here Penny, I believe, the young woman that at one of his sermons he would auction off to the crowd of onlookers, not to auction them these escaped slaves into slavery, but to auction them off to raise money to buy their freedom. And the infamous story, of course, here is that on the day that he brings her up on the stage to raise money, basically to buy her out of slavery, someone also puts a gold ring inside of the collection tray. And as that collection tray with a massive amount of $900 is passed to the front, and the gold ring, Beecher, who never missed an opportunity for theatrics, pulls Penny up by the hand and places the gold ring on her finger and says, "And with this I do wed thee to thy freedom." Bum, bum, bum. Henry Ward Beecher was a conflicted guy because, well, now before I was telling, the first suburb, right? It was the first place anywhere in America where more people who lived in the neighborhood did not work in the neighborhood than did work in the neighborhood. That people would leave, go someplace else to work, and come back again. First time, right? And that meant that Beecher often found himself alone with the female population of Brooklyn. And he got himself in some trouble. Officially, unofficially, there were rumors. There was a court proceeding. A guy by the name of Samuel Tilden, no, maybe not his first name, but he was a Tilden, sued because, Henry Ward Beecher was hanging out with his wife. So, and that wasn't what he was famous for. Famous for the abolition and his fiery sermons, where he would mix, slang and dialect into his delivery. So, pretty neat. Well, there you go. Thanks, Henry Ward Beecher, for being a good guy. Not on this tour. Just happened to be walking. I need to get to Facati. Facati. Oh, it's down this way somewhere. So before we were just walking on Montague Street, actually named after Ezekiah Beer's Pierpont. Boom, boom. Actually, his cousin, and she was a famous British novelist. So he names it after her. He also runs Clinton Street through his holdings, his properties. He owned about 60 acres around here, good old Ezekiah. And he runs Clinton Street, named after DeWitt Clinton, soon after the Erie Canal has opened to much fanfare. He runs Clinton Street right through the middle of his, one of his properties and subdivisions, because Pierpont he understood that. Now Pierpont, when he got married, he, as part of his wedding gift from his father-in-law, received 500 acres of land in upstate New York. Oh wait, did I say 500 acres? I meant to say 500,000 acres. So he was in zero rush to sell the 60 acres, tiny, tiny little bit of acreage that he has here on Brooklyn Heights. Sit for as long as he needed to before needing to make a swap. I clearly need to spend some more time here because, hey Alexa, great to see ya. Thanks for jumping on. It's been a little while, gosh, happy to have you along. Pierpont will come back to, Pierpont really quick. The point is that what I really admire about this guy, Ezekiah, is that he owned all this property and people wanted to buy it from him, but he refused to sell it for like 20 years after he'd invested a ton of money into the steamboat stuff, into Robert Fulton. He was actually a director of Robert Fulton Steamboat Company by the time that it comes to it. And he still holds the property. And he waits 2 decades, 18 years, before he starts to really open it up and sell, as he waits for Brooklyn, increasingly desirable, for him to market Brooklyn as a place that, you should come to and live in, even as Brooklyn was blowing up around him. Because in 1822, you had a yellow fever epidemic hit Manhattan. And people, oh my God, yellow fever, I gotta get out of Manhattan. I'm gonna move to Brooklyn because it's safer, the air's fresher, and would not have used this area for any substantial dwellings themselves. So I can actually probably claim that they were the first ever buildings built on most of this land in here. Huh, how about that? I went the wrong way. That's okay. It means that we're still going to see a little bit of extra in here. This was not a street that I was planning to go down, but look at this building, St. Charles. I love those gargoyles up at the top. Sidewalk bridging here, guys. When you walk around New York, you see a lot of this stuff, this sidewalk bridging. The reason why you have it is because something about this building above it is having facade issues. Something on that building. I can see it, actually, or at least start to see there's some problems up the top. If you look up here, you can see that there's a lot of wear and tear going on up there. And although that just looks like paint, it does mean that there's, if it's not just sun exposure, there's water exposure, and water that gets behind that stone facade and gets to any of the steel that's back behind there can lead to that steel spalling out. Spalling, I think. Spalling out, and the chemical reaction of that steel expanding is so powerful, it can actually eject bricks directly out onto the sidewalk, which, I don't care if you're wearing a home team hat or not, you get hit by a brick, home team hat's not going to stop it. So, and hence sidewalk bridging. And so much of New York City is covered with this stuff. Really, of course, recent frequently. Under 6 stories, you have no obligation to have your gets injured, or someone calls 311, the 911 for emergency buildings, emergency building repair. Sorry, here's another just gorgeous little street here. I'm gonna go with Federalist style. Although the eaves up there are a little bit adorned about Federalist. But yeah, oh, look at that. Something for Jim over here. How about that? You guys see these little fasteners here? These bolts on the side? You see a lot of that in Charleston. And they're earthquake bolts that hold buildings together that have suffered some damage. In this particular building, I think it's just and they're keeping it from cross-stabilizing fault. I feel like they should be like what is going on with the internet connection? Not good. Let's get down the street. No, let's walk up. Let's walk up next. Sorry, I'm looking at my map on the other hand, getting myself to Facati. Pardon me, ma'am. Do you happen to know what year your building was built in?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a 100. A little. Had thought he's old though. Guys, I'm across the street tower. Don't. Thank you, Nikki, for mentioning it. That I'm having, which makes zero sense. This is still why don't we turn right up here? And I'll give you guys another sneak preview. Hopefully we'll get a good connection as we do it. Oh, good, the connection is back. Nick, if you didn't hear me, I said thank you before for the heads up on the problematic. Look at this building. I need to figure out what this building is. Dr. Stevens S. Marco Dentist. This building is old. I have not researched it. I do not know what building it is. But I can tell you, it's not a new one. Both the height, only being 3 stories tall, and the brickwork. Look at it. These are some old A bricks. Well, to get to the Hotel St. George. Oh, God damn it. Internet connection unstable. I'm sorry. Walk of this. So expect this issue. But wow, how about that? You got a Clark Street subway station directly in this old hotel, originally built all the way back. You know what? Let's go this way. Come on, internet connection unstable. I've had about enough of you. I don't know if you guys can. Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect. Connection got better, and Jill wrote at the same time. Jill writes, "Hi Chris, I'm volunteering at our local county fair." Good for you, Jill. Very cool. Bad cell service for me, but I'm still able to see your live stream in bits and pieces. Jill, thanks for being there. It could be just as badly my fault, to be honest with you, because I've had a bunch of connection issues for the last 5-10 minutes. Before that, it was pretty good, but it's gotten poor in the last chunk of time. Really quick, now that I appear to have a good internet connection, why don't I just cross over real fast, if it's gonna hold for me, and we can just talk about this Hotel St. George over here really fast, because it's a fascinating building, and it's been here since 1885. It originally was like one of the, you know, the real high-end great hotels built out over here, and it's, you know, in its own right in Brooklyn. And it's also interesting in that it suffered a massive fire in 1985. Excuse me. Wait, 95, 85? Let me double check on that one for you guys. 95. Yeah, the fire was in 95, not 85. And it was the facade that you're looking at is protected, as is this entire area of Brooklyn. All of Brooklyn Heights is a national, like, you know, registered neighborhood, a district. In fact, it's the first one ever to receive that status, first neighborhood, almost in its entirety. And the outside of this building is also protected. The inside of the building is completely different right now because it had that fire in 95. Now, the building, which had been this fantastic hotel for so long, pre-World War II, really, it was, you know, you could have come here and seen F. Scott Fitzgerald, you know, heading out. The star of the Tarzan films used to come and hang out here. Johnny Weissmuller. I've never heard of him before I did my research, but I learned about this guy. And from the rooftop up there, you'd have had spectacular views over into Manhattan. And this is all before, of course, we have the Palisades or the Esplanade over the BQE overlooking the East River, which wouldn't come until, you know, the 40s and the times of Robert Moses and such. But back in those days, this was the one. It had an enormous ballroom, a 120-foot natural salt swimming pool, and in its heyday, it had over 2,632 guest rooms with 1,000 full-time employees, and could accommodate over 3,000 people for special you know, events or dances and such as that. During the Second World War, as well as the Korean War, this hotel was used for troops and their families that were heading off to the fronts. You'd come here and you and your family were lodged here before you'd be shipped out from the naval yards. That all ended when the local bases stopped being bases here in Brooklyn and New York. But until then, this was often the last place that you would come and say, well, you would part with family that you may never see again. You'd say goodbye. So in 95, this building is completely run down. There are multiple extended buildings behind this facade that we're looking at right now. It was built upon, and built upon. And by the 1950s, really, already by the Great Depression, Brooklyn has taken a big hit. But by the 50s and 60s, with the change away from shipping and the move towards highways, that whole kind of Eisenhower's interstate highway program, this area gets increasingly run down. And the building, which had in its heyday had 2,632 rooms, was only using about a third of those rooms by the late 70s. So it changed hands a bunch of times, struggled to stay lucrative. I mean, it wasn't lucrative. It was always kind of in foreclosure and about to go out of business. And then it was in 95 that a 61-year-old vagrant broke into the building, and because it was largely unoccupied, he went up towards the 10th floor. He was trying to, in the early morning, like 2 a.m. in the morning, steal copper piping. He needed the copper pipes, like ripping out of the wall, and make money out of that, right? And he didn't have like a flashlight or something. He had like a makeshift torch, like an open flame, and that open flame caught fire to something on the 10th floor. It just touched on something combustible. By 3 a.m. in the morning, some of the people that were staying here were calling the front desk because there were no lines that went directly outside of the building. You couldn't call the fire department directly. So they called the front desk, and the front desk looked at its control panel and said, "No fires, we're okay." And they ignored them. They said, "You guys are fine. Go back to bed. No smoke. You're imagining it." By 3:30, someone was calling from a local building, could smell smoke already over there, and they were calling the fire department. The fire department shows up and goes to the front desk of the Hotel St. George, and they're like, "Hey, we've got to report a fire," and they're like, "What are you talking about? Look at the panel. We're fine. It's all good. We're good to go." They're like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Why don't we send someone up to the top floor and on the roof look out and see what they can see?" And sure enough, one of the adjoining buildings connected inside of the Hotel St. George was indeed on fire. So the firemen go over to that inside building. It all been built in such a haphazard way in a way. The firemen were really confused as to where exactly the entrance point was for them to be able to get to the fire itself. They finally figure it out. They run the lines up to start fighting the fire. The fire, unfortunately, at this point, is already spread down to the 8th floor because, as part of the whole business going out of business thing, so much furniture, which had been kind of nailed into the ground and whatnot, had been ripped back out of the ground again, of the floors of the building. So when fire starts to spread on the 10th floor, there are holes in the flooring that allow fire droplets, or bits of things that are on fire, to fall down to the hole into the 9th floor. Catches on fire. To the 8th floor. Catches on fire. The firemen get up there. They're up on the 7th floor trying to battle already the blaze on the 8th floor, right? Trying to avoid stepping in holes themselves as they're going. They can't get the water on. And why? Someone had vandalized the pump attachment location where, into not the fire hydrant, but it was actually there was water piped directly into the building, and those attachments had been vandalized, and pieces of the piping had been removed, right, to go sell off, because this is a place to go and grab stuff. So the firemen are trying to get the water running. They can't figure it out. By the end of it, the fire continued to expand so much they said, "Look, we're just going to have to forget this front building, like the Clark Street building, and we're going to use that as a buffer. We accept that we're going to lose this entire building. And we're going to just fight for this facade and this connection. Ended up being one of the biggest fires in New York's history. I think they said it was a 16 alarm fire. And it's when you say like there's a 3 alarm fire, that's already a big deal. But by the early morning, by like 5, 6 in the morning, it had already reached the equivalent of a 16 alarm fire. And yet still we have this incredible facade to look at today. It's not nearly as big a building inside as it used to be, and it's no longer a hotel, even though it's called the Hotel St. George. You actually have in this building today is our New York City university students. Yeah, so like if you go to NYU or other surrounding Brooklyn or Manhattan universities, you might be in this great old historic building where Fitzgerald once drank champagne martinis and danced by the saltwater pool. Pretty cool. Okay, so no, Alexa, it wasn't smoke poisoning in the end, although that's actually one of the crazy things. Despite this enormous fire, right? Some people were injured. No one died. Some of the people, though, who were in the building suffered some small injuries. None of the firemen died. They ended up abandoning their hoses at one point and having to leave all of their hand lines inside of the building to make a hasty escape when they realized that the water wasn't turning on. But besides that, everyone was okay. And Jeanette, podcast. It'd be fun to do. It'd be nice to be interesting to be in a studio space rather than out on the street. Completely different. So much easier, I kind of imagine. All right, guys, this is what we're doing right now. Quick slice of pizza at this really old place, Facati. It looks old. It's a neighborhood slice joint. And I'm just gonna go with a classic cheese slice. Let's make it happen. Hey, my friend, can I get sliced cheese?
Anything to drink?
Say again?
Anything to drink?
No, it's I got water. Thank you. All right, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So, first of all, Alexa, yes, I'm also glad that no one died. New York's had enough tragedy with 9/11 and then the General Slocum. Before that, I've talked about the Slocum a lot. 9/11 we all know, but until 9/11, the General Slocum sinking of that steamboat, same model that Fulton would have invented, right? Which changed Brooklyn and all of that. Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Take just a little of this. And there's enough tragedy out there. And then, and Jeanette,
Thank you for that. I appreciate your compliment of my voice. I will continue to try and impress.
Yeah. Can I tell that story already for you guys about Kenneth Branagh? When Kenneth Branagh came and gave a lecture at Yale University where I attended. Ezekiah, more than one beer. Ezekiah Beers Pierpont. His cousin was along with like Davenport, Pierpont and Davenport were two of the founders of Yale University. So he was connected, that guy as well. I don't know why I just said that. I'm confused. I'm lost. All right, so pizza. Here it is. Sliced cheese, right, from Brooklyn Place. First things first, it's not a massive slice. It's a little bit thin. And I wish it was thicker. Nikki, am I making the trip to Scotland in September? I think I have to come. I think I have to come. Let's talk about it. Let me reach out to you right after. Oh, Kenneth Brano. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jeanette. Thanks for bringing me back. So what he said when he was up there on the stage, someone asked him, Kenneth, he just done the Hamlet, the movie, and they asked him, Kenneth, tell us what's different for you about doing stage and doing the movie. And he said, and now if I told you the story, you'll know it from now. He said, in a movie, when there's a microphone, you can whisper. And on stage, you can't whisper. If you whisper, the audience can't hear you. You have to be like, oh, look, Horatio, there goes Claudius, No, you have to shout a whisper. Whereas, and what Kenneth was saying was that changed it because the color that you can add to a whisper is so different than the color that you have when you're usually using your voice. So, quick pizza, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. So, how do you know if it's a good slice? Well, first of all, you look at the size. It's a little small on the slice size, but it's all right. Then you check the heat. Right? If this feels hot coming off your pizza slice, it's gonna burn your mouth. Right? Don't put a hot slice in your mouth, or you're gonna get pizza rooftop on your mouth. That's no good. And then we got the fold, right? Can we fold it? And does it flop? No flop. Right? Good crust. Let's hold them together. I got to fold. If it flopped, it'd be like, ooh, didn't do it. Nice and firm. Brooklyn pizza, firm.
He made me move it back in the gates. He's always complaining about it.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Could be a little hotter.
But the more is on the thing.
Great crunch. It's not overcooked. Although I don't mind a charred pizza either. But real good. Sauce, not too much, but nice and sweet. And then I put a little oregano on it. Probably didn't need it. It already has a good flavor in there. Oh, a little windy today. Let's get the crunch. It's a good one. Jeanette writes on Facebook, yes, exactly, to the Kenneth Branagh story. That's why all the early movie actors sound like they're overacting. Oh, they were theater trained. That makes sense. Jack Lemmon was told to act less. Makes so much sense, right? Because the camera picks up all that nuance, which you have to exaggerate if you're on the stage and you're trying to reach people who are like up in the upper mezzanines. Act less. I like that. That's a new water bottle. I just lost another one in Connecticut. It's in Darien, Connecticut, up on Middlesex Road at my buddy Oliver's place right now. It's terrible. And Jill, pizza's waiting for you. Come get a slice. Jill, if you come visit New York, Jill, I'm taking you out for pizza. In fact, any of you guys who are currently on this live stream, not anyone that watches the video later on, not on the video later on, anyone who's commented on this live stream, during this live stream, you come to New York, I'm taking you to pizza. All right? That's it. It's on me. I'm covering your pizza. Not every day, but one day we're gonna go out for pizza and we're gonna eat, we're gonna get 5 different small pies of pizza and eat lots of different pizza and try it, all right? No, yeah, Joe, I expect you to hold me to that. I'll see you here, okay? Torsten, you can come. Eric, flying from Maui. It's a reason to come to New York. Free pizza. I mean, how can you make pizza better? Add the word free to the front of it, right? Free pizza. Oh, so good. Prosciutto arugula. Ooh, yeah, I like the prosciutto arugula. I don't like it if they put the arugula on too early, though. I don't want the arugula to be like too cooked. I like a little raw arugula. You know, it adds a little spice to it as well. Tosta, next year for sure. Hey, you know, Alexa pizza is a great thing. So, tomorrow, Coney Island. Used to be its own island, but now it's connected to Long Island. We're gonna go see the Wonder Wheel. We'll see. We're not gonna go into actual Luna Park because it's $55, and that's just too rich for my blood right now. But you can see everything else. You know, I mean, you see everything. You still see all the rides inside of Luna Park over the fence. Boardwalk. You know, it'll be a Thursday, so we'll see. And then there's the game, so hopefully it won't be it'll be neither too crowded nor too empty. So I can make sure you guys have street story as well as landmarks to describe. And pardon me. Friday we'll be at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Go go gogi, only for the pizza. Go go gogi's only here for the pizza. It just means I'm gonna have to eat pizza every time I do a tour. You come for the pizza, I'm gonna sneak in the history. You know, before you know it, you're gonna be like, let me tell you about Henry Clinton. Oh, Colleen, hey. Colleen writes, go to the Pizza Pusher in Coney. Tell me, what is the Pizza Pusher in Coney, Colleen? I don't even know what that is, but I'm gonna have to research it for sure. Well, I'll call you later on and ask you. Well, thank you guys for being such an awesome family. No community I'd rather be part of. And apologies again for not giving you the proper Brooklyn Heights tour today that I'm going to be giving you on Saturday. But you got a little bit of a pre-taste on it. I love that guy who just walked by. He is like super authentic. You got a little precursor. We're going to cover one or two of the same stories, but then the other 50 minutes will be exclusively Brooklyn Heights, not me walking around. Thanks for your patience with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for showing up and sticking with me, even though it wasn't what was exactly promised. Alexa, you now want a deep dish pizza. Oh, they have that in there too. Should I get a second slice? Maybe think about it. Great to see you. And seriously, like, you know, there's a lot of people that watch these streams, and there's a lot of people that worked for or worked with the walking tour company, you know, Sandeman's New Europe tours, free tours and such. And many of you guys have been on tours with us, but Alexa works with us, and is the only person who works with the company who regularly watches these live streams. It's like super sad on one side, but it just shows like Alexa's special, and I really do respect you and value you. So thank you for being there, Alexa. Appreciate it. And Michelle writes, I love Coney Island. Well, come down. You know, if you're around, guys, and you want to come explore Coney Island tomorrow, maybe catch a baseball game, minor league, but still. Actually, I'd even say like minor league's great, value for money, right? So Alexa, back. Thank you. Appreciate you. Well, guys, we've been going for an hour and 20. So for those of you who stuck through the whole thing, you guys are incredible. Thank you. And we will be back again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. What does that make? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the next day, Sunday. And then, like, I think I might just keep on going next week and keeping it happening. Alexa, when you come to visit the U.S. next year, if I have a place, if I have a home, you have a home, okay? I'll make sure that you have a place to stay. If I have a place to stay, then you have a place to stay, all right? Nikki, thank you. And let me follow up with you promptly, because I know that you gotta do your stuff. What are the dates in September? Early September? Late September? I already communicated to to my like company executive team that I'm planning to come in September. So they're already expecting that. Now I just have to figure out exactly when. But to be able to not have to do quarantine, it's the trick. Because I'm double vaccinated, of course. If you tell someone as a traveler they have to go and wait in a hotel for a week and pay for that, £2,500 or something, no one's going to come. September 4th. What a great day. What a great day to pick for such a special event. Well, let me talk to you offline about it because I feel weird on here. But I'm honored and if it's legit, then I'm going to do it. You know, it'd be amazing. I'd love to. So, Ramon Diaz, amigo Cabron, thank you for that. I try to have a lot of energy, but you guys pump me up. You know, it's like the audience gives the energy to the content creator, which then pushes the energy back to the audience. And if you're doing it right, it's just building and going in that direction. So, right, guys, let me let you go. Take care. Thanks again. I appreciate everyone coming through, and I'll see you tomorrow. On live stream, and then I'll see you in person in September, maybe, or sooner. Well, enjoy, guys. Be safe. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your friends and family. Take care of your strangers. And give yourself a break. You deserve a break. Everyone deserves a break. Give yourself a break today, okay? Take a break. All right. Ciao.